Hi folks, I'm Mike and I hope you're well. Welcome to episode 29 of Fix My Mix, the show where we listen to mixes from the community and try to give our advice about what needs fixing with them before release. Now, also, we're going to be going through some techniques, some hands-on stuff in this show as well. So it's a bit of a hybrid. And today we're going to be focusing on the part of the electric guitar has played in my mix and how I've gone about actually mixing that. So we've got some hands-on tutorial stuff to learn about today. And all of this is really made possible by the sponsor of the show, which is DistroKid. You can follow the link in the description. That's the link that I'm pointing to right here as well, just above there. There it is there. You don't want to type all that in. Just go down to the description, click on the link. You'll get 7% off of the current price, which I think is $19.99 per year for DistroKid. And with that, if you're releasing original material, you can release as many songs as you want to all of the major platforms like Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, all that kind of stuff, at no extra cost. Now, if you're recording covers, there are some additional costs there, but if you are recording your own material, that's all you'll have to pay. Isn't that amazing? Really, that's incredible. Takes all of the headaches out of it for you. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Oh, I do have a guest for the show today, and he is one of my most popular guests. Every time I say he's going to be on the show, everyone goes, "Oh, good. Oh, I'm pleased to hear about that." So I'm pleased to hear that too. And he's going to be my onlooker during our little tutorial today as we talk about electric guitars. And his name is Ricky T. Brown, and here he is right now. Oh,
Hey,
hey,
hi
go.
everybody. Good
Nice.
evening.
Some people say I've got a big head, Ricky. It's not true, is it? I've just got a bigger head than you. I need to go back here.
That'd be about right.
Yeah, that's about right, isn't it? Yes.
Uh,
Oh, I chat with you once in a while when we've got time,
yeah,
and you are very busy in the middle of a music project at the moment, aren't you?
I am. Yes, I am. That's probably why people who frequent my Facebook page may not see my name come up as much as I have done in the past because I've dived deep into this project, so it's going really well.
Good. You
And
still manage to keep things ticking over in your Facebook group, though. You're still in there, keep in charge, making sure things go
oh
nicely there.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
um, but I have been accused previously of being omnipresent on there, and I suppose for a while that was actually true while it was being established. But yeah, I needed to put some time into my latest album project. So
And
yeah,
you're going back to your roots of jazz. You're telling me as well.
yes, bloody hell! It's like talk about challenging myself. Um, because I dabbled with like rock and R&B over the last few years, but coming back to the jazz core, that's really tested me. Hi, Doug. Yeah, I seen you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just going to say hi to some of the people in the chat here, and we've got Doug there. Nice to see you, Doug. We've got Mimo Japan. We have Kionra, all there as moderators, making sure
Kiora.
everyone behaves well today. And we normally we're frequented by porn links as well. And
Yeah.
that happens. Me and Pete Johns have suffered from that recently. I don't know why. What do we do that attracts porn
Yeah.
links? I don't know. Good day
Um,
to hi Conra from Dave Bops there. Nice to see you in here, Dave. We've got House Molo in here. We have Jeremiah Peterson in here. Nice to see.
hey.
Nice to see Omni Collective Creativity. Good. It's always nice when you have creative in the name, isn't it? Yeah. Thanks to everyone for being here. Don't forget to take part later on when we listen to some music. It's always handy to hear from you folks when we're giving our opinions about this music. It helps me and Ricky out, actually, I find, to have those little nudges. Nice to see Sam Junior Music. I never quite know how to say it. Neil, nice to see you in here as well. Good day, Neil. And Andrew Webb here as well. Nice to see you all in here, and looking forward to your contributions as we listen to the music. Let's go on to the first piece of music, shall we, Ricky?
Yeah, let's get it.
Let's do it. Let's have you read out the artist name just for fun. Here we are. Well, you go ahead and say.
Okay, the artist is Trend and Jago, and the track is "Let It Go."
Let it go. Let it go. Oh, I bet not. I'll get enough copyright claims for this show anyway. I haven't got much information on this one. I just Trent sent this in and said, one of my home studio projects I'm trying to fine tune. This was made using Logic Pro X. That's all the information I have on this. So let's get this show started and see what we reckon to this track, Let It Go, from these guys.
Chance to say sorry. You don't have to take the blame, it's on me. If you never come back, then you'll never know. Can we even figure out what we're waiting for? You fool me so different elements of my twin flame together. We were dangerous. Chemistry don't got a name. Victims of circumstance, the universe be playing games. Paint on me the perfect picture, but I'm nowhere in the frame. The pain's perpetual. I'm jaded by these empty days, laying with these different ladies, but I swear they feel the same. Burn a bridge and give a bitch a second chance.
There we go. Something maybe of a slightly different genre to what we're used to having on the show, Ricky.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's nice,
welcome
isn't it?
change.
Refreshing, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you might go first on this, Ricky.
Okay. It was a pretty good mix. It was a pretty good mix. If there was one thing I would say about it, I mean, it might be just my preference, but I felt that the vocal was a little bit it needed to be a little bit more forward, I think. And maybe the EQ around the vocal, it just needed a little bit more air on the top.
Right.
Just a bit more air reverb
To give it a bit more presence.
Yeah. Because especially on the higher notes, you know, it's good to hear a little bit of a reverb tail
Yep.
on it, kind of thing. And I thought that it got swallowed by the backing track a little bit in places, kind of thing. But it's not very, you know, if you're talking about it being just right, being here, I think because of the vocal, it was probably about there. If you could see that,
right, yeah, got you.
If that little tweak on the vocal would make this right, yeah, this is ready. This is ready for people to for people to buy. You know, so
Cool.
yeah, but yeah, really nicely done. Nice production.
Yeah,
Yeah, and those trap hi-hats were not too loud, so I was very pleased about that.
Well, I'll give my opinion on that. First of all, isn't it funny? It reminds us that there's we talk about sort of things being right or wrong or right. I mean, but we always know that that's a subjective thing, really. And then within genres as well, there's different emphases. Is it? Can you have plural emphases? Emphasis? I don't know. But anyway, there are different emphases and different mix expectations from different genres as well, isn't there? So on the subject of the trap hi-hat, which I rather enjoyed the stereo that was going on with there. It was going from left and right in a musical way, which was really fun. And they do that, and especially if you've got headphones on, it's a bit of a delight for the old ears. So yeah, I thought it was for me it was still just a tad too loud, but then again that is somewhat expected in the genre. So
I've heard it louder.
Yes, yeah, me too. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Can I just say first of all that this is a cliche to say this, but I could definitely hear this being played on the radio. I could definitely imagine my kids listening to this and having it on. It's a very commercial sounding track,
yes,
but not in a bad way. I know that there's a tendency for people to think, oh, this is so easy. You put this together in, 2 or 3 hours in the studio, and there may be some truth in that. The execution of tracks like this can be relatively easy, but the amount of judgment involved here, I'm probably talking about composition here rather than anything else. There were some nice variations. There's things where things drop out, where things come back in. There's a couple of drops in there, and what have you. But I think there's a real art in knowing when those things need to happen. You don't want to do it too early because you do need some repetition in music normally to have people get hooked onto things. You don't want to leave it too late because then people get bored. I thought the judgment in this was, for me, pretty much spot on. They knew when they had those little change ups to keep you interested in just the right places there. So well done on that. So yeah, I have to agree on the vocals. I just kept feeling because the bass was necessarily present in this, which was kind of nice. It was a lovely sound of bass, and the drums and that as well, right? Were all pretty present, but I just felt that they just got on top of the vocals a bit too much. It was not a bad sounding vocal at all in places.
Performance was good. Yeah,
performance was good. So it just sounded all right. So if we're in agreement with that, and I think somebody else might have said it in the chat as well, then that might be the biggest takeaway I'd say these guys can take from our advice is you just might want to nudge that up. Now, it could be a matter of a fader adjustment, riding it a little bit more. Could be, I find, for example, parallel compression on vocals can be very handy for this type of thing, because you're sort of blending in that parallel compression and just keeping it on top in a very subtle way. So I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you laughing about there? What are you having a giggle about there, Ricky? Can you tell me about it?
No. There's who is it on? Somebody give me some love, man. Yes, I was smiling. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'll thank you for sending that in. Don't forget, folks, if you want to send your music in, as you can hear, all kinds of genres will be played, and we're happy to play them, to be honest with you. I like to hear a variation of things coming in here. We're going to be talking about something completely different after our little commercial break, my shameless commercial plugging that I'll be doing in a moment for DistroKid. And we're going to be going back to the track that I've been working on, Fix My Mix, for the last few weeks. And we're going to be looking at the role that electric guitar played in that track, and how I went about, especially making it wider than wide. I'm a wider than wide kind of guy.
Okay.
Talking
Broader
rubbish.
than Broadway.
Anyway,
Extra wide, extra wide, extra wide.
In case anyone's not already familiar with things that go on at DistroKid, have a listen to this. Have a listen to this. One of the ways to actually get your music heard on Spotify is to get onto a playlist. Now, DistroKid offers a really fun way to get onto one of their playlists with their Wheel of Playlists feature. Simply head over to your DistroKid account, go to the top right where it says Goodies, then go down to Wheel of Playlist, and then you start off simply by selecting a song, something you've already released, and then click on Connect with Spotify. Now, obviously, the further up a playlist you get, the more likely people are to actually hear your music and enjoy it. So what DistroKid do here with this feature is they give you 3 chances to spin a wheel, a kind of a wheel of fortune type of thing going on here. Now, the best result of those 3 spins determines your number in the playlist. And as I say, the higher up you are, the better. So on this occasion, I achieved 1,088. You can try every day if you like, so maybe that's something you'd like to do to actually get your music in a playlist on Spotify. Okay, so Ricky, you've just recently got into playing a bit of electric guitar, haven't you? Am I correct in saying that? You've just
Yes, I've been mucking around with it for the last God knows many years, but yeah, it's more recently I've decided, right, I want to learn how to play this properly.
Well, this might be
similarly.
helpful. Might be helpful.
Similarly with my bass playing as well, because I was okay as long as it wasn't too complicated. Yeah, so I had to learn some technique. So I'm pleased to say that I've been able to use what I've learned on some of the pieces I've done for my album, kind of thing. So it's kind of come in handy.
Cool.
Whereas have a bit of nice real bass on there rather than using plugins.
It's a funny thing, isn't it? I mean, the plugins for bass are very, very good. If I was going to rate virtual instruments in terms of how good they are compared to, this could create a little bit of a stir, but I would say number 1 is drums. They come closer. I mean, I know they're still full of shortcomings compared to live drums, but they come closer to any instrument. And I reckon bass might be number 2. On piano, maybe. Pianos
I'd agree with
good,
that,
aren't they? Yeah, it's very close. But bass is very, very good. Until then, you actually play a real bass and you realise that actually executing the expressions that you have on the bass, even if it's something as simple as a slide or something like that, is so much easier on a real bass to do. And the dynamics in your playing are quite different as well. Can be troublesome, mind you. Dynamics in bass can be a little bit troublesome in a mix, because if you're not a full-time bass player, we can be a little bit inconsistent, I find. I personally find, anyway, with my playing. So, yeah, still need a bit of practice. I regard myself as a guitarist, but I'm a fairly simple guitar player, really, compared to someone like our friend Dan, the Lonely Rocker, or something like that.
Oh,
And
the shredder.
the shredder, and also with electric guitar. I'm not really an electric guitar player since I've had them since I was 15, 16 years old, maybe younger, but I'm sort of regard myself as an acoustic player primarily. So my tracks have never got any kind of real, I don't do many guitar solos even or anything like that, very rarely. But so electric guitar is an accompaniment to me. So I'm not one of your sort of rock heads or anything like that. So I'm going to look at the way that I've used it with this song, because it tends to be an instrument of colour for me. Does that make any sense to you, where I want to add some colour
Yes.
and some substance to the track, okay, which is some in a way that an
It's a
acoustic
texture,
guitar can't.
yeah.
A texture is the word I was looking for. But I will say to people watching that the techniques that I'm going to show you, I think is still useful, even though, you know, the guitar may be more prominent in your songs and maybe a feature instrument, the electric guitar, I should say. Still, these techniques are going to apply, really, and the way that I've gone about sort of mixing things here. I'm just going to do a quick sound check for you, so I'm just going to play this part of the song. Let us know in the chat there whether you're hearing this.
'Cause I've given all you want, taken all you can, take it all.
Takes a few seconds for the chat to come through, so I'll just go over to YouTube there. Give us a thumbs up or whatever you need to do, folks, to let us know. Did you hear the music? Did you hear the music? I'll proceed once I know. I reckon they heard it. All sounding good there, Kiana. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, let me get rid of the electric guitar here for a moment on this. I'll just mute the one I've got there. This is just going into the chorus of this song. It would sound like this.
'Cause I've given all you want, taken all you can, take it on.
Do you know what? I haven't got rid of it. Let me properly get rid of it. I've still got some electric guitar in there. Try again.
'Cause I've given all you want, taken all you can, take it on the chin. I'll be your fool. You'll never really know.
So I've actually got 4 electric guitars in this in total. I've muted them all at the moment, but I'm just going to give you an idea of what it was trying to do here. I wanted an overdriven guitar here, Ricky, to add a little bit of grit. I did, because everything's clean, everything's perfectly clean on this, and I wanted something with just a little bit of sizzle. Not very much, to be honest with you, but just enough.
Dirt.
A little bit of dirt in there as we go into the chorus. So just to play what I've got, which you might not hear the difference, but see if you can hear it in here.
'Cause I've given all you want, taken all you can, take it on the chin. I'll be your fool. You'll never really know how far it is to go.
So you can just hear it going a little bit there, yeah, hopefully. Give me a
Yeah.
yay. Yeah, you can just hear it. I'll solo it for folks so they can hear what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Louder.
Yeah, louder. You want it louder? Well, it's going to get a little
Yeah.
bit more present, and I'll show you how it's going to get a bit more present,
Okay.
because that was the sort of basis of it, right? There's not much
Yeah.
else going on there. Now, just so you know, that's running through, I'm using Amplitude here for that. Looks like I was using a Brian May head and something else in there. It doesn't really matter, but I just wanted a little bit of sizzle in there. So almost certainly what I'm always going to do with something like this is double the guitar up, okay? So I'm going to just, now I'm looking for a little bit more presence and a little bit more width. And I want to mention here as well that this is one of the instruments that I find quite useful for adding width. I will sometimes use stereo wideners in the mastering phase of a track, but I like to create most of my width in the mix. You know what I mean, Ricky? You don't want to rely on wideners. They're just a bit of an enhancer, really. You want to create the width. So the first thing I do is play another guitar, which I've done here. And I'll just quickly turn that on. We'll have a listen. We've got it soloed still. So when you get them both playing together like that, you get this sort of weird chorusy effect. I'm just doing this for the folks who have never done this before. You get this weird chorusy effect. It's not what you want really. But what happens is that when you pan these hard left and right, then you end up with this. All right, so you can hear that all right, Ricky?
Yep.
Thank goodness for the stereo capabilities of this Restream platform. So that's where we're starting off now. We start to get a little bit of width there. Notice how simple everything is, and the guitars are slightly out of tune from each other as well, which actually is not necessarily a bad thing, to be honest
No,
with you.
it's not.
A
Chorusing.
little bit of detuning can actually create a little bit more width. Now let me just give us a little refresh. We'll play that in the song, see how we are now. Oops, helps if you actually switch the solo button. There we go.
On the wall, taking all you can, take it on the chin. I'll be your fool. You'll never really know how far it is to go until you're there and we are here.
Getting there, isn't it?
Mm.
A little bit better than it was. Getting there. Now,
Yeah.
somebody's just saying in here, let's have a just read this comment because it's caught my attention. You could use a simple delay on one guitar, pan to the left, and the other one pan to the right regular. Yes and no. That's to me is something I would do if somebody else was performing it and I couldn't get the artist back in to re-perform it, because a delay, you'll get a slightly different effect, but a delay is too regular in the differences. It's going to be, usually it's going to be a fixed amount, so many, probably in this case, you might 5 milliseconds or 5 to 10 milliseconds, and it would be too regular. Okay, you would get something like a what do they call that? Sort of a slapback delay would be the kind of effect you would get there. So you get a little bit of width, but it's not the same as when you've got differences in playing, because when there's two different performances, the odd note here and there is going to be dead on. The odd one's going to be a few milliseconds early. Some of them are going to be a few milliseconds late. And you get this lovely variation. So it's the variation which actually starts to create the width. Now you can see that you probably can't see actually, but let's pretend you can see that I've got these panned completely hard left and completely hard right, Ricky, can't you? You can see that. You know what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
don't you? So you can't get any wider than that, can you? No, you can't get wide. This is a rhetorical question, Ricky. You can't get any wider than completely wide, or can you? Or can you trick people's ears into making things even wider? Well, yes, you can. I'm about to demonstrate that to you now. We're going to dive in and first of all look at, we're going to switch on the EQ for one of these guitars. I'll mute one of them. I'll go back to the original one. I'll put it back in the center and we'll bring up my EQ curve here, Fab Filter. Let's have a look and see what's going on here, because EQ is going to play a role in making this wider. How can you do that? I hear them say. Oh, it's a fun little trick, this, and very, very simple. The first stage of my EQ that I've got switched on here is a low cut, okay? Pretty much you're going to be doing this a lot of the time anyway with guitars. I happen to have got mine, folks, at 137. You're going to have to figure out where you need it. But let's have a listen to the information there at 137. Hang on. Let's just solo that. I'm going to solo that frequency. That's where I'm cutting from. Can you hear that? It's pretty low. I could actually go up a bit higher than that. All of that down there is its only purpose really is it's going to be competing with the bass guitar and anything else that's lower there, the kick as well. So it's going to be detrimental to the track in terms of the low end. It doesn't really serve any purpose down there, so that's why we get rid of it. Okay, so that's the first step, and I've done that, I can tell you, to all of the guitars, all of the electric guitars. I didn't have it on a moment ago when we were listening to it, okay? Just bear that in mind. So I've now got that on. The next thing I've got here is a little cut. Just happens to be for 445 hertz here. Don't do exactly the same thing as me on your mixers, folks. You're gonna have to use your ears. But very often there's going to be a little cut that I'll do here. Sounds like this. Sort of in the lowish mids, really. It's a little bit honky and also adds a little bit to the muddiness of things as well when you start building up these guitars. So I just take that out. So far, pretty much all of the guitars I've got on here will have this. It's close to identical, doesn't have to be. Now, where things change is this. I've done a cut here. Well, let's forget this. Let's go to the highest one. I've done a boost here at around about, what have I got, 3.4 kilohertz, all right? Okay. Have a listen to that. Yeah, that's all that sizzly stuff up there. Let's call that a feature. Yeah, a featured frequency. There's something I'm just boosting. I'm going to give it a little bit more presence, Ricky, because you were still feeling. I could tell that you wanted it to have a little bit more presence. And now, conversely, I've got one down here where I'm subtracting, about 3 decibels, at around about 2 kilohertz. Okay. Let's call that the opposite of a feature. Bear this in mind. All will be revealed in a moment. So I've got one cut here at 2 kilohertz. I've got one boost here at 3.3 kilohertz. Yeah, remember those two. Now, here's where it gets interesting. This is how we add the width. Let me just make this a bit smaller. Didn't realize I was going to be on such a resolution for the show. Let's pin that up there. Let's go along to the other guitar, which I've got panned right, and turn on its EQ and bring it up. I'll move one to the left. That's my left one there. And here's my right one. Let's resize these. My OCD's kicking in now. It's getting upset. All right, have a look at these two EQ curves. What can you tell me about this, Ricky?
Yes. Well, certainly the last 2 frequency points are inverted almost.
That's exactly, there you go. I'm glad you picked that up. So they're actually pretty precisely inverted, to be honest with you. So where I've got a cut at 2K, right, on the first one, I've got a boost at 2K, the same frequency pretty much, and then the other one. So this is what I have heard termed, I should credit this because I started doing this years ago after watching a video by Graham Cochran from the Recording Revolution where he was talking about this, and I think he called it Complementary EQ. Okay. Now, what happens is that it tricks the ears, okay? So you've got 2 very similar sounds, left and right, but because one is highlighting some frequencies and the other one's decreasing, I've done roughly a 3 decibel boost in one and a subtraction in the other. So we've got a full 6 decibels of difference in that frequency range between the two. It's quite a big difference, okay? And what happens is it adds to the width. Okay, now I'm not going to pretend to you that this is a light and day kind of a thing, but it just pushes the boundaries a bit more. So I'm going to take those away. Now I've prepared something for you here, folks. I have my 2 guitars here, left and right. I'm just wiggling my mouse around them now. Okay, now I prepared earlier 2 identical guitars. See them here next to them, left and right. I'll just unmute those. Exactly, I just duplicated them. They're exactly the same recordings, okay? And the first 2 have got what I've just done there with the EQ. The other one's not, okay? That enables me to go up to my buzzers up here and switch between the 2. This is where the sort of proof is in the pudding. As I say to you, I don't think it's night and day, but you should hopefully, especially with headphones on, hear a difference in the width, okay? So I'm going to start off with the ones who have not got that EQ applied, all right? See if we pull this off. Now I'm going to switch. Go back. So it is subtle, I must admit. It's very,
No,
very
I can
subtle for
definitely
me, but
hear
you
it.
can hear
I
that,
can definitely
right?
hear it.
And
Yeah.
it just has the effect of just pushing the boundaries just that bit further for width. And then when you sort of combine those, and I've also got some other electric guitars in there as well, which are, I've done exactly the same thing on these ones over here. Let me just solo those so we can hear them. Clean. So we have that in there as well, and that's all combining.
'Cause I've given all you want, taken all you can, take it on the chin, I'll be your fool. You'll never really know how far it is to go until you're there, and we are through. We are through. We are through. We are through. We are through.
So apart from rock music and what have you, the electric guitar still plays an important role, I think, in terms of sort of colour and tone.
Absolutely.
And in this case, used a lot more subtly than we might sort of see in, as I say, in forms of music like rock, but still there an important role. And if you are producing rock music, I don't think there's any difference in the approach apart from the fact they're going to be a lot more loud, and you might do some more layers. Actually, you may do some more layers. Now, I will quickly mention though that in this case, both the left and right guitars were using the same amp settings from Amplitude in this case, right? But you can also create more width if you change those things. If you're recording real stuff, obviously using different guitar settings, different amps. But if you're using amp sims like I was here, then you can just swap up maybe a speaker cabinet and make it different in one to the other, and that will create some difference there in terms of width. Let me just look at some questions we've got here. Doug, is the distorted guitar your Strat? It isn't actually. I don't think so. No, I think it's still the Gretsch, Doug. The very Gretsch that was on the thumbnail, the green Gretsch, which is up my wall here and on the thumbnail for this show. And yeah, hastily tuned as well. I'm terrible with tuning, like when I'm in a hurry. This was just done for a demo, so it's fine. But yeah, so that was the Gretsch in there, Doug, which I still find, especially for this type of thing, is the guitar of choice for me. That's where I go to. Quickly, some questions here. Oh, that was just Kiana answers some stuff there. I'm just looking to see if there's any other. I don't think there's anything else for me to answer there at the moment. So, was that helpful to you, Ricky? What did you do that kind of thing, or what's the deal there?
Yeah, I think what I do is probably a variation on that, a slight variation on it. I mean, for certain, if I want to have a thicker sound, I tend to go for subtractive EQ, so that I'm not boosting anything too much.
Yeah.
And for me, it's more about any frequency that's maybe a little bit too loud, then pull that down and not boost too much, because it's very easy. Oh, I need some more middle kind of thing. Yeah. Say 1 kilohertz. Well, if you pull down the other frequencies, then the 1 kilohertz point actually becomes more prominent. And of course, getting the widening effect, it's very similar to what you've done there. You do two versions of the same thing and pan them hard right, hard left. So yeah, I think we all have got a variation on what you've said there, but that's definitely a way of introducing more width to a similar sound group, if you like. So if you talk about guitars, that's a good way of doing it. Because even if it's the same line, I mean, there are other ways you can do it as well. I mean, you can slightly delay one side, and that will give both guitar tracks. If you just got two, they won't hit exactly at the same time. You know, and then maybe you might give one side a little bit more reverb. That can then create a
Yes.
sense of width
So,
as well.
one thing, and I'll just quickly describe it. I think I may have mentioned it before. Another thing you can do with reverb. I happen to have used the reverb which was built into Amplitude here. Okay, so it's mimicking, especially on the clean guitar there, which I think I had it going through some sort of Fender Twin or Fender Deluxe. So there's a certain character to the reverb on those amps, which sometimes I want to get. However, I will say that what you can do with reverb is have your guitars pan left and right, send them
Yeah.
to separate reverbs. For your left guitar, pan the reverb right. For your right guitar, pan the reverb left. Okay, and that can
Yeah.
also be very, very
Yeah.
effective in creating some widening as well. So yeah, interesting stuff there. I hope that helps someone out. After this little word from our sponsor, DistroKid, we're going to be listening
Hey.
to another song. Here we go. One of the ways to actually get your music heard on Spotify is to get onto a playlist. Now, DistroKid offers a really fun way to get onto one of their playlists with their Wheel of Playlists feature. Simply head over to your DistroKid account, go to the top right where it says Goodies, then go down to Wheel of Playlist, and then you start off simply by selecting a song, something you've already released, and then click on Connect with Spotify. Now, obviously, the further up a playlist you get, the more likely people are to actually hear your music and enjoy it. So what DistroKid do here with this feature is they give you 3 chances to spin a wheel, a kind of a wheel of fortune type of thing going on here. Now, the best result of those 3 spins determines your number in the playlist. And as I say, the higher up you are, the better. So on this occasion, I achieved 1,088. You can try every day if you like. So maybe that's something you'd like to do to actually get your music in a playlist on Spotify. And if you'd like to have your music on this show and have its mix reviewed, then follow the instructions which I've just put on the bottom of the screen right now, and you can also follow the instructions in the description down below. Ricky, we're going to go to something completely different now. This has got a lot more guitar in this particular song.
Okay.
Coming up. It's been sent in by Don Tucker. I don't know if Don's in the chat right now, but he is in a band. They're called Innocence. And he has said, "Hi Mike, hope you're doing well." I am, thank you very much, Don. I submitted a song, You and Me Again, to Fix My Mix several months back, and you played it. Yes, I remember the title. Both you and Pete gave my colleagues and me a very nice review, thank you. But more importantly, we really appreciate the feedback you provided. We took what you said and applied it to our next song. One of the problems with the first song was the fact that you pointed out the snare wasn't quite right. I think I repaired that issue. It would be great if you were able to play and give comments on this next song. The name of the song is Olivia's Song, and the name of our band is Innocence. So I guess we'll be listening out for the snare here a little bit, Ricky, to see if they've got that right. Okay, here we go.
Cool.
Sunlight through the window, another beautiful day outside. I see her smiling from a distance. She's the reason I'm alive. Another day, what a wonderful life. The moonlight sits atop the water as darkness fills the sky. I lie awake to hear the ocean and think of dreams that never die. Another day, what a wonderful life. Another Another day. What a wonderful life. If we could live our lives like there was no tomorrow, smile at everyone as they walk down the street. What a different world we could have created. It's not too late to start right here. Never take your life for granted. Don't forget where you came from. Keep in touch with the ones. Another day. What a wonderful life. Another day.
Oh, well, there you go. I don't know what
Oh.
happened there. Suddenly
Oh.
disappeared on me.
Okay.
Should we listen to the rest of it? Let's try. Let's see if the rest
Yeah,
of it will
yeah,
play.
yeah. Let's hear it all.
Oh, no, it won't. No, it ended there. Don't know what happened there. Technical glitch. I
Right.
think we got the gist of it, though. I think we got the gist of it. So that's
Okay,
okay.
yeah, we did.
We can run with that. Anyway, Ricky, I'll let you go
Yeah.
first.
Yeah. The thing that really jumped out at me is that it was the snare sound again. I think it if this was programmed, the snare was pitched too high. I think you needed a different kind of snare. Personally, I would have used something with a little bit more body, maybe a little dirtier. Because I think this snare it might have worked better with something like if it was it's like the project I'm working on. If it's like more of a jazz thing, a jazz type snare that with that kind of attack, that it would work better. It works for that kind of thing, but for this track, being having a more of a country vibe to it, something with a little bit more earth. I don't know. What term should I use for that? Yeah, but the pitch of it is what really jumped out at me. It was like
Right.
it was,
Yep.
you know,
It's like being smacked
something
in
a
the
little bit
face a
more.
little bit too much. With it.
Yeah, something a little bit more organic. I may have used for that, and the only other thing as well was I felt the bass lacked a little bit of definition with this, and it needed a closer relationship with the bass drum for me sonically. They needed to be a little bit closer in terms of what frequency ranges they were occupying, because having the bass a little, if it was a little bit louder, it would have given more of the natural warmth of this track. Is a very nice song. Guitar work was nice, but there was almost like there was a frequency slot that was missing because of what the bass and maybe the bass drum was doing. Vocals are really nice on this. But yeah, there's a hole in there somewhere frequency wise, I think. So I hope I hope I haven't upset the artist too much of what I've said, but but it's a nice song. It's just that it needs to feel a bit rounder, I think.
Right.
And changing the snare would help to do that.
Okay. We've got a question here. I'm not sure I quite understand the question, but a question
Okay.
for Ricky. Was the sound of the snare country because of the type of drum sound that was used, or was it the frequency making it sound country? I almost want to answer that for you, but I'll let you answer it, Ricky.
Okay. It had a country vibe to it, especially
Mm.
with the kind of harmonies that are being used
Yeah.
vocally.
Mm, mm,
That's what drew me to describing it that way.
mm.
We all have a perception about what we're doing, and we can be surprised by what people say. But that's how it sounded to me. It was more about the vocal arrangement and the arrangement of the vocal harmonies
Mm,
that kind of spoke to me. So yeah, this feels like more of a country style track.
mm, mm. No, I agree. I think it was it wasn't quite, but it reminds me of that sort of phase in the 70s. This wasn't a 70s sounding track, but where things came out of
Yeah.
country, the Eagles or things like that. That sort of had that country flavour to them, particularly the harmonies in here, which were beautiful harmonies, by the way, I have to say. I love listening to your comments and the guests' comments, and then looking at the comments also from the chat as well, because I've got my notes here, which I was typing while listening to it. So when I see a lot of things which we all notice without chatting to each other, then I think, oh, there must be some truth in that. So I definitely had something about the bass in my comments. I felt it could be a little bit fatter and just a little bit more present. It was a nice solid bass line. That was the thing about it, and it would have helped the track a little bit more if it had just been up a tiny tad. That's just a reasonably easy fix. I agree with you on the snare. I think this would be a great snare sound for certain types of pop rock tracks or something like that, where you really want something that's going to punch you in the face and be, really. I don't think the track wanted that, though. It didn't sound to me that that's what the vibe of the track was really all about. And having it, I hadn't picked up on the fact that it was to do with the pitch of the snare, but after you said that, I have to agree with you. I think that there might be a lot in that. So a snare that was tuned. Now I've got a feeling this was live drums, which we're creating nightmares for these guys now by saying such things. So if you don't swap out, if you don't take Ricky's advice and swap out that snare sound, which would be the ultimate solution, then you might try and tame it with some EQ, some dynamic EQ, just to tame it a little bit, okay? But I think that's a really valid on there. I don't know if anyone else picked up on it, but I think there was a little bit of tightness issues on some of the lead vocals here and there in the phrasing. It wasn't much. It was just a little bit that I picked up at the beginning, okay? I want to say overall, though, that all of these things that I'm saying about this song, these are sort of a little bit nitpicky. Overall, this was really pretty good.
It's it's a lovely track.
But I was almost surprised to see some comments from people, because I was thinking to myself, is this whole track just a little bit too bright? And I was thinking, no, it's just me. I'm just, But then a couple of people said that, and so I'm thinking, yeah, there's something about this track which it's almost like so many things are very, very present. The vocals are very, very present. That snare's very present. And a few things, it's almost like too many things that are present and they're fighting with each other and it all sounds a little bit bright. Needs to be a bit more glue and mushiness in this. That might maybe helped in a master, I guess, is the way it may be going. But yeah, I know that's a little bit of vague advice, really. There, so I feel a bit sorry now for the people who sent this in to be giving them such vague advice on this. But yeah, it might be a matter of just looking at some of the things in there, cured a little bit by EQ, cured a little bit by some nice gentle compression, things like that. Can be helpful. But yeah, I hope that helps them out. It's nice song, great chorus. Good vibe to it. Definitely worth working on, and really well recorded as well. I have to say, it's a really, really nice recording.
Actually, it reminded me in places of some of the Doobie Brothers old stuff.
Yes, it's that kind of thing, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a pure country, but it's sort
No.
of country influenced.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, well, interesting stuff there, Ricky.
Hey.
You've been a great help, as you
Well,
normally have.
thank you.
You must be keen to both get to bed and get straight back into your tracks. What stage are you at with your album at the moment?
We're just over a third of the way through, yeah, because I'm really trying hard to get this one right, and then it takes a bit longer because a lot of the contributing performances are done remotely, kind of thing. So I'm not trying to do it all myself.
Yeah.
It's to get people to play who know how to play their thing, rather than me trying and failing to convince anyone. So yeah, I'm
Sounds like
trying
you
to
might
do it
have
right.
reached some limits here and there, or had to brush up quickly on some
Oh
theory.
gosh, yeah, my diminished 13ths and bloody yeah. But to get the sound, you got to know those moves, and I've had to refresh myself with how things are supposed to move when you're talking about certainly like neo jazz, which is a kind of a new discipline for me because I know all the old jazz funk stuff, but neo jazz has a certain character about it, and I've had to brush up big
Well,
time.
it's always great to be learning new things and to have your boundaries pushed, isn't it? I mean, that's one of the wonderful things. It's not about being terribly competent in everything. It's always about just getting on the edge of where you are competent,
Yeah.
so that you're growing. That's the thing. Very, very important, whether it's in playing music or mixing or all of those things. Just pushing yourself out to the edge of your boundaries is a very healthy thing. Keeps you
Yeah.
alive, keeps you feeling motivated, keeps you feeling energized, I
Oh, yeah.
reckon. Very much so. It's been a pleasure to have you here, as always, my friend.
Thank you,
and
man.
been wonderful to also have everyone here in the live chat. Thank you so much for being here and for all the input that you've made. We'll be back for Fix My Mix next week. I'm not really sure what format the show's going to take next week because I only plan a couple of days ahead most of the time. But we'll find out. It'll be a surprise. So everyone take care. Have a lovely rest of your day if you've got the rest of your day. If it's the end of your day, then have a lovely night's sleep, as I'm sure Ricky T. Brown is about to do right now.
Yeah.
See you next week, folks.